You ever have one of those mornings where you wake up thinking it's going to be just another quiet day, and by sunset, you're wondering if you accidentally wandered onto the set of a crime thriller? Yeah, that was me, right up until Karen Whitmore moved in across the street. And I'll tell you right now, if you've never had a neighbor dial 911 5 times in a single hour just because you made coffee for your friends, you don't know how sideways life can go real quick. She watched us from behind her curtains, whispering to dispatch like she was about to crack some international terror plot. Her exact words were, "They look dangerous." You know what's wild? The dangerous men she was seeing through those dusty blinds were just 4 old teammates from my FBI days, guys who once cracked federal cases for a living and now mostly crack bad jokes. That single baseless call, though, man, it set off a domino effect that would turn my quiet Pine Valley life upside down, and it put Karen's name on a federal blacklist before lunch. Now, before you ask, yeah, I used to be with the Bureau. Did my time 15 years of chasing the worst people you can imagine watching partners not make it home, picking up habits you just can't shake, like waking up at 6 a.m. sharp or sitting with my back to the wall at diners? My little cabin handed down from my granddad was my peace. Not much to look at, but the wraparound porch and those old pine logs meant freedom safety, until Karen came rolling in with more no parking signs than sense and a set of binoculars she pointed at me every single morning. At first I figured maybe she's just adjusting to small town life. Everybody gets twitchy when they move somewhere new, but it got weird fast. One day she's got binoculars, next day an old camera pointed right at my yard like she's trying to catch Bigfoot. Trust me, I know paranoia. I lived it for years, but there's a difference between being careful and running your own 24/7 surveillance op from the breakfast nook. I wanted to ignore it, just read my book on the porch, live out of retirement that didn't feel like a stakeout. But you know how it is. Some people just can't leave things alone. Things really kicked off the day my old squad rolled into town. Group chat pinged at 7:30. Intervention time, Marcus. We're coming. No arguments. Jake, my old partner, is built like a linebacker, always the first one through the door, whether it's a meth lab or my kitchen. Tony, who still carries his forensics kit just in case, even though he's supposed to be retired and working as the county coroner now. Ray, the tech guy, the kind who can hack a drone while making pancakes. And Mike, who still wears his black suit like he's going to court, even to the grocery store. We're just a bunch of stubborn old dogs, honestly, but to Karen, we probably looked like the A-team running a covert op. So there I am, grinding beans, waiting for the jokes about my beard and my hermit lifestyle, when I glance out and see Karen at her window camera notebook, scribbling like she's writing the next Watergate story. You could feel the tension. She wasn't curious anymore. She was on a mission. I'm telling you, she had that look in her eyes like a hunter who finally spotted the white whale. No way she saw 4 old federal guys as a friendly reunion. In her mind, I was running some sort of sleeper cell. And just like that, it all went nuts. Car doors slamming, old friends giving me grief on my porch, but Karen's kitchen was lit up like the command center in a war movie. She was feeding papers into her ancient fax machine. I didn't even know people still had those reporting military-grade equipment and tactical signals, because Jake pointed at my bathroom and I ground beans for the second pot of coffee. You can't make this up. She sent 3 different faxes in 20 minutes, each one more dramatic than the last. By 9:15, here come 2 sheriff's deputies. Sheriff Thompson, who I'd worked with a couple years back, gave me that look, half apologetic, half please tell me you're not actually starting a revolution. We all handed over our IDs, registrations, all that, and within 10 minutes they figured it out. 5 guys retired drinking coffee and eating homemade donuts. Not exactly the next Unabomber cell. Thompson shakes my hand, tells me, "Sorry, Marcus, you know how it is." I look over and Karen's red-faced, waving her arms, probably calling the FBI to report the local cops for collusion. She looked like her whole life's purpose just slipped through her fingers. But you know how true believers are getting proven wrong doesn't slow them down. It just makes the story bigger. By 10 a.m., Karen had turned her dining room into an FBI-worthy command post, corkboard, red string maps, photos of my house from every angle, even floor plans. Then she started going door to door, waving her folder like a badge. Poor Mrs. Henderson, sweet lady 80 alone since her husband passed, probably thought Karen was collecting for Meals on Wheels. Instead, she got a 20-minute briefing on why I was a threat to the community. By the time Karen left, Mrs. Henderson was peeking out her curtains like she expected SWAT to storm my garden any minute. Karen kept at it, house after house, Mr. Rodriguez, the Petersons, even the Johnsons whose car I jump-started last month. You could see people's faces change as she went on. By 10:30, the whole neighborhood was starting to look at me sideways. Then came the climax. Karen set up an emergency community safety meeting right on the sidewalk, folding table projector PowerPoint slides about domestic threats with screenshots from action movies she pretended were real evidence. I'm not kidding. There were 12 of my neighbors nodding along, watching Karen point at Tony's donut bag and calling it unknown chemical equipment. I stood at my window, half expecting Rod Serling to pop up and explain I'd slipped into the twilight zone. Jake saw it, and God bless him, stepped outside, calm as you please, saying, "Folks, maybe we can clear up a few misunderstandings." Karen lost it, pointed at him, and shouted, "They're the ringleader," like we were the bad guys in a Marvel movie. And when logic failed, Karen went full commando, ran inside and started a blog, Pine Valley Truth, calling us a domestic terror cell. She posted our photos with red arrows, claimed Tony's medical bag was full of nerve gas, even said the local sheriff was in on it. Within 2 hours, her blog was blowing up across Facebook, and soon strangers were debating whether I was running a drug cartel or a black ops site from my porch. Local news showed up, camera crew and all. Karen delivered her evidence with the gravity of someone testifying before Congress, spreading her photos, talking about coded communications, acting like she was saving the world. The reporter, trying not to laugh, asked if she had any real evidence. Karen just pointed at my house, saying, "What more proof do you need?" It would be funny if it wasn't so chilling, because the crowd, they believed her. They were scared. Someone started a GoFundMe for Brave Karen, and it raised $2,000 by lunch. People were ready to follow her off a cliff. Then, just as I was thinking about packing up and heading for a real cabin in the woods, a black SUV with government plates rolls up, FBI for real. Karen was ecstatic, telling the cameras, "See, I was right." But the agent, Christopher Wade, wasn't there for me. He walked up, flashed his badge, and said, "Mrs. Whitmore, or should I say Catherine Williams." And that's when the twist hit, harder than anything I could have imagined. Turns out Karen, real name Catherine Williams, had a long history. The FBI had been tracking her for years. Restraining orders, false reports, identity fraud, the works. She'd made up threats in 3 other states, targeting men with military backgrounds, creating fake evidence, and even fundraising off her stories. And it got worse. Her obsession started after she called in a false report about a suspicious driver, not knowing it was her own son coming home from work. The resulting police chase ended in tragedy, and she'd been running from that guilt ever since, desperate to be the hero she never was. As Agent Wade laid out all the charges, stalking, fraud, breaking and entering, even planting fake evidence in people's homes, you could see the crowd realize just how badly they'd been played. Neighbors who'd called me a threat now looked ashamed, even scared. Karen was arrested right there, muttering about saving the community as she was let off in cuffs. After she was gone, Pine Valley changed overnight. The same folks who'd believed the worst about me brought over casseroles, wine apologies. The FBI found a national ring of people just like Karen, using fear-fake evidence and social media to destroy lives while raising thousands online. My old teammates turned our monthly meetups into self-defense and fraud awareness classes for the community. The local committee formed to fact-check rumors before acting. Out of the chaos, Pine Valley became safer, stronger, and ironically, a little more trusting. 6 months later, I got a call from Agent Wade. Turns out there's another Karen network in Montana, same tactics, same playbook. He asked if I'd help the Bureau shut them down. Funny, right? Karen tried to paint me as the bad guy, and all she did was send me back into the fight this time to protect real neighbors from the kind of monster she'd become. Life's got a sense of humor, I'll give it that. So let me ask you, ever had a neighbor like that? Or wonder how a whole town can get spun around by one person's paranoia? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me, where's the line between vigilance and hysteria? And how do we make sure justice doesn't get hijacked by fear? If you stuck around this long, hit like, subscribe for more stories where the good guys come out on top. And remember, sometimes the loudest alarms come from the quietest houses.